From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the Business, Equity, and Opportunities Podcast with Scott Sander.
Welcome to the Business, Equity, and Opportunities Podcast. I'm Scott Sander. On this episode,
we hear from the president of Fifth Third Bank in our Access to Capital segment, meet Indiana's Exporter of the Year, and we celebrate an Asian American heritage success story.
Every business is unique and has a target audience. If you own or manage a business, Circulus Digital Media can help you connect and grow your customer base with turnkey digital solutions that are nimble, offering best-in-class results, service, and support to reach a bigger customer base, allowing you to pinpoint a specific audience down to the smallest details. Get outside the city, the state, span the globe. Put Circulus Digital Media to work for you. Get started now at circulusdigital.com. That's circulusdigital.com.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. I'm Scott Sander. The health of banks has been big news lately, with high-profile failures and big deals done to keep customers whole. Today, an expert offers insight about the health of regional banks and whether it could affect your ability to access capital.
This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities. Access to capital.
Tim Spence is the president and CEO of Fifth Third Bank.
Absolutely. We're here today at the Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan headquarters in Zionsville. It's a brand new facility. In fact, we're the first corporate partner of RLL who had the opportunity to host a meeting here today. And I was in town because every year we spend a full day in each one of our markets, just to hear about what's going on the ground, talk about where there are business opportunities, how we can better support our clients. It is the month of May, which is an important month in Indianapolis, and it's an important month for Fifth Third, because maybe in the fifth month, the third day, we celebrate Fifth Third Day. We get out into the community, volunteer, remind all of our employees of the importance of supporting the communities where we live and work. You know, it's unfortunate because anytime there's disruption in the banking sector, it has a tendency to bleed over into the rest of the economy. Put simply, there were a limited number of banks who tended to be more focused on the tech sector than the real economy, who grew too fast over the course of the past several years, and who made some mistakes in the way that they ran their businesses. And that resulted in the last month and a half in three fairly significant bank failures. I think the good news for the system overall, and in particular for the state of Indiana, is that the banks that are operating in the Midwest were virtually unaffected. And certainly there's a part of it that just comes down to the way that you run your business. So our priorities as a company have always been stability, profitability, and growth from a financial perspective in that order, and in building long-term relationships with people that allow the bank to perform well through the cycle. The byproduct of that, at least in our case, is we're the only one of the large banks in the U.S. who's actually grown deposits since the Fed got really active last year in raising interest rates. But how you manage the business is only part of it. Banks at the end of the day are only as healthy and as strong as the communities and the customers that they serve. So we have the benefit, because of the footprint we have in the Midwest and the Southeast, of serving very stable communities and of having had customers who believe in what we do and understand the importance. I think there's a lot of discussion nationally about the role that regional banks play from a lending perspective in small business and in mortgage and in local community development. Regional banks are more than 1 in 3 deposit dollars across the country. I think if there's one thing maybe that is less well understood, though, it's the role that we play in literally the civic fabric in these communities where we operate. I mean, Fifth Third, just as one example, the Fifth Third employees volunteered nearly 120,000 hours last year, and it was almost 7,000 hours in the state of Indiana alone. Our people sat on 1,200 local nonprofit boards, right? They are involved in the communities where they operate, and every year we lend, invest, or donate about $8 billion to support low to moderate income communities, economic mobility, racial equity, and inclusion, really important issues that support more equitable growth and more sustainable economic growth in the markets where we operate. This recession, if we do get one, is not going to be like the most recent ones. I think because in the last 20 years, we lived through a global financial crisis and then a global health pandemic. we have this tendency to assume that an economic downturn is going to impact everybody equally. So we happen to be in a part of the country, and Indiana is a leader in this regard, that is going to benefit from the investments that are going to be made in electric vehicles, in infrastructure, in renewable energy. And to the extent that as a small business you're able to attach yourself to one of those trends and find ways to participate in the investment that's going to go on inside the state, I mean, we're talking tens of billions of dollars here. There's a real growth opportunity in front of you. I also tell our small business clients, don't expect that an economic downturn, if we get one, is going to help out on labor availability. The next 10 years, every year there are going to be more people who retire from the workforce than graduate from high school or college. So if you have talented people, you got to hold on to them. And you got to be investing in tools that are going to help them, whether it's technology or automation solutions or otherwise, that are going to help them to be more productive. Because I think talent is going to continue to be very hard to come by. Lastly, you have to choose your partners carefully, right? As an owner of a business, you are, by definition, investing in building something for the future. And you got to make sure that you're working with people who have that same long-term commitment, right? The best relationships in our lives, we all know personally, are the ones that are there for us when times are difficult. And you should expect your partners to be there for you. I'm an optimist, right? I'm a believer that if you look at the long sweep of history, that things generally always get better. Sometimes it just takes time. I think we're in a period right now where it's appropriate to feel worried and uncertain. We've never been through a rate increasing cycle like the one that we're experiencing. We see the strain in places like affordability for new homeowners, in challenges that we have experienced as people have changed the way that they live in real estate and central business districts and the businesses that are attached to those things. And certainly as we look at AI and some of the automation solutions and otherwise, it's appropriate to worry a little bit about how your world changes, whether it's your opportunity as a business owner or your job as an individual. I think with that said, my grandfather always used to tell me the God's wheels grind slowly but finely, right? And we'll find ways to harness these tools to create more value for people and to address some of the labor supply issues that we talked about earlier. And whatever disruption we experience, I think in the grand scheme of things, I'd rather the American economy than I would any other economy in the world.
Time for This Week in Business and a chance to talk about the booming business of peanut butter. It's booming up in Portage, Indiana, of all places. And the two people who know about it better than any are the creators of what we have here, Carol Podolak and Joy Tompkins from Be Nutty. Welcome.
Thank you.
This is our first food interview on business equity and opportunities. So I guess we should jump in with that. When you have, the short opportunity to talk to somebody about what you do, tell us about your product, what it is, how'd you come up with it?
Well, we came up with it because we were looking for a nutritious way to fundraise and to teach our kids not only about nutrition, but fundraising and give them something good to eat on the field. And that was the beginning of it. And then what would you like to add to that one?
How did it turn into a business?
Oh.
Well, once we started fundraising and people tried our fun flavors, our pretzel white chocolate peanut butter, our milk chocolate toffee peanut butter, they fell in love with it. They wanted it more than the once a year we had originally agreed to. Yeah. So we went from once a year fundraisers to local farmers markets to some local grocery stores, and 10 years later, we've expanded operations.
So take me back to that when you first started. It was a jar or a bucket or whatever you had.
Sure.
Did you have any idea that, and I don't know if it's the finish line, but where we are right now was even a possibility? Where you ended up, was it at all where you thought when you started?
No, the main goal was to just give our team, and at that time the soccer club was maybe 2 teams, maybe 30 kids on it. Right. So just to feed the team something, and when we're traveling, and get them to fundraise with it. And now the whole soccer club that we're dealing with is like over 300 kids. Mm-hmm. And what we thought was going to be once a year has now turned into multiple times throughout the year. And it's spread from there to local store shelves, to like the state, and now, we've been feeding people around the country and around the world.
So, and that's why we brought you in today, and you were kind enough to spend time in a busy world to talk to us. The Indiana Exporters of the Year from the Small Business Association. We talk about the SBA a lot with our friends who are watching right now. You are now at a point where a lot of them would like to be. What would you say to them? I guess with the SBA experience, first of all, what was your connection? What support did you get through the SBA? And how did you get to this award?
It's a pretty nutty journey, pun intended. So when we started growing onto a national scale, we started to work a lot with the state of Indiana, the ISBDC, the IEDC, and the SBA. And when we started to get access to those resources, which are available for everyone here in Indiana, we learned about something called the Export Accelerator. It's only here in Indiana. It's called the Indiana Export Accelerator, and the ISBDC offers it. And our coordinator signed us up for what we thought was a class. We thought we were going to learn a little bit about export and decide if we wanted to maybe dip our toe in the water. It's really more of an incubator. They take you through a 12-week intensive program, and when you're done at the end of it, you have all the resources you need to start exporting. And that's really what happened. It's been a fantastic journey. They introduced us to additional resources like XM Bank and food export of the Midwest, which is with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And there's a ton of help, both financially and educationally, to help you grow your business. So we decided to give it a shot. We said yes, and we can't believe where we are. It's been a little less than 2 years of exporting. And
you're already award-winning at it. Is that intimidating? Does it take this sort of moment of courage to say, I have a thing that sells locally, it sells well, I'm happy, but there's a bigger prize out there? I mean, you could very well have said, no, we're good.
It was terrifying.
Was it?
It was absolutely. It wasn't just intimidating. It was terrifying. When you think about, I have no idea how to ship a package, let alone a pallet or a truckload of peanut butter to another country. There's so much help, and that's what was great is we were able to meet people who knew things that we didn't even know we needed to know. And so we were very scared really every step of the way. But when we realized that what was available to help us, we really got our courage up and we said yes, and it's been fantastic.
What if you're allowed to say from your business contracts and contacts, where do you ship to overseas, and what do people in your export markets crave the same flavors that people say do in Brownsburg and Bippus?
Yeah. Great.
They don't necessarily crave the same flavors, but we can also create flavors to their market if we wanted to.
Have you done that? Is that like how does that work?
A lot of fun R&D. So we really meet and talk to distributors and grocery stores in other countries. We've had a chance to travel to some of those countries, do market research, see what's on the ground there, and then come back and take what we learned and try to incorporate it into something that we think is going to work well. And that's one of the funnest things that we do at our facility, which we call the Nut House. We have a whole team, and we do. We love our peanut puns, but we have a lot of fun trying all those flavors.
Yeah.
So, for instance, what countries, if we're traveling internationally, might we actually see Be Nutty in?
Yeah, so you would have an opportunity to see our products sold right now in Dubai, Saudi Arabia. We've shipped to stores in the UK, Ireland, Australia, France, Egypt.
Are they always branded Be Nutty there, or do you do private label things as well?
Both. We do both. So some are branded Be Nutty and some are branded private label. We're just getting ready to launch into the Singapore and the South Korean markets. So we're really excited about those two new additions.
As a soccer club is how this all started, trying to raise money for the kids.
Yeah.
Do you still do that? You still got a fundraising component?
We still do, and we do fundraising for other groups also.
As two soccer moms from Indiana, what was important to us was to stay true to our mission. We started out fundraising, and that continues to be a really important thing of what we do each and every day. We take the profits from the peanut butter that we sell, and we invest them back into our local community and back into student athletes. We provide scholarships for student athletes. We fundraise to build an 8 soccer field complex right down the road from our production facility in Portage, Indiana. We provide tuition assistance with books. We help our students fill out their FAFSA applications. We're really invested in trying to take what we're growing and grow what's happening in our community. And that's really important to us.
It's clear that this was important before you got success. Do you see, though, that doing good for your community further fuels your success?
100%. We really feel like you get what you put out. And that's something that we try to think about each and every day when we make decisions is, what does this do to further our mission? What can we do next? If we grow a little bit more, how much more can we help people? And that's just really been fantastic.
You'd echo that?
Absolutely. it's been fun to watch the business grow. We started off as 2 moms, and now we have over 60 people, working with us to make this mission possible, and, kids all over the country and world, and people, grown-ups loving it. But it was just a really good way. We spent time on the weekends doing farmers markets, teaching the kids how to, tend money and make trades and negotiate and figure out like the sales side, and actually to get them to go outside of their little perimeter. So they traveled to Illinois, they traveled to Indiana. We went all over doing farmers markets.
That's a little courage from them as well.
Yeah.
Not bad.
It was a lot of fun.
I guess if you could, give our friends down the line some encouragement about that process of, I have this product or this service, and maybe I have already even established a small market around myself. That step that you took, both through the SBA and then also saying, yep, let's ship it overseas. That's a tough decision to make.
It was scary, but I would have to say the biggest lesson we think that we've learned is you don't have to know everything. You just have to have access to people who do. Yeah. And that's been really fantastic. Being a business owner is scary, and you think you're only relying on yourself until you get plugged into a network of resources and realize there's places to get answers, people who've already done it, and they're willing to tell you what they did right and what they did wrong. And we learn something new every day. It's definitely a journey.
Well, it's been a fantastic success story. Again, Exporter of the Year through the SBA, and I understand that you have a chance at a regional and maybe national award as well, so our good luck to you on that process. And let us know how things keep working and growing for you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Carol, Joy, thank you.
Thank you.
Be Nutty is the Indiana-based product.
Welcome back to Business Equity and Opportunities. May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Indiana has many success stories to celebrate. One of them is our next guest.
This is Business Equity and Opportunities. Success Story.
Sunny Lou Williams is the president of TechServe Corporation.
I come from a long line of serial entrepreneurs. My grandmother actually founded the company back in 1992. And she was an individual that was an immigrant, took the citizenship test, took the driver's test, and just said, hey, what's the process? What's the system? Let me learn it. Let me do it. So I take this very simple example of studying for the U.S. citizenship test. She learned the ins and outs, she did it, and then she just kept following directions to the point where she started her own business, like literally found the instructions, the how-tos, started her own business and said, we've always been a family of entrepreneurs. So in her heyday, she was one of the first police women in Taiwan, had an administrative capacity within Taipei Metropolitan Police Agency, and that kind of ties back to our public safety portfolio here that we'll talk about in a little bit. And she just really had all of these great ideas, while she was doing that, had a ice cream store and had all of these community kind of goodwill efforts as she watched how to really connect with the community and connect with her kids as they grew, and tied these multifaceted, really what we would call kind of lifestyle companies, right, to what her kids were doing at the time. So it just so happened of her 4 kids, 3 of them became masters in computer science. So at the time when she formed the company, TechServe was literally a buy all of these components, create personal computing, which in the heyday was being sold at like $10,000 to $15,000 a pop, right? This is very, very high margin. And so again, this whole find out what the instruction is, how the system works, follow it to the letter, and do the work, they became an E-rate business, which is literally a supplier to government and specifically schools. And so TechServe's kind of big claim to success back in the late 90s was implementing over 47 Chicago public school system computer labs. When that was first ever, right, computer labs, and first ever bringing what we now know as STEM education, but at the time, just simple computing, right, as curriculum into our K through 12 schools. And so I remember very distinctly because I I've always gone through that kind of process iteration of learning with my parents, and I've always participated in their companies. I remember learning to alphabetize by filing our customer invoices. Remember those like white, yellow, pink with the acetate? Having to file the pink ones in these huge file cabinets, right? And just kind of going through that, and TechServe evolved from doing all of those instruction following processes systems to expanding to where we are today, which is literally evolving systems. So systems building and looking at how do we do the work that we're doing today as a government agency, as a local authority, and how are we not only marketing, communicating that, but how do we actually ensure that the processes change for the benefit of all so that those services are actually rendered and there's inclusion and there's equity in that access. That's kind of the storyboard of my grandmother starting the company in '92. My mother then, with her accounting background, taking it on and really strengthening that supply chain procurement order management function. And then me having neither of those backgrounds. Applying many years later what I started off with at Purdue, which is really systems design. And so I had an opportunity to really study under some greats at Purdue University that was really focused on how do you do economic development and do it in a humanitarian way that supports sustainability and economic participation for all. So that really needs thoughtful design. And so TechServe has evolved so much today that technology is still the enablement of all we do. That's the only way we can really impact systems, move forward this evolution of all the processes, the change iteration, and so forth. But at the heart of it is working with folks that both design the system, are users of the system, and have the ability to look back on whether or not that system, which is a collection of processes, instructions, and ways to do things, whether it ultimately helped or hindered the population it was intended to serve.
Our thanks again to all the contributors who joined us for this episode of the Business Equity and Opportunities podcast. We hope you found it enlightening, useful, and inspiring. You'll find more information about the show on our website, BEOshow.com. You can watch Business Equity and Opportunities Sunday mornings at 10 on Wish TV or live stream it through wishtv.com. Each week we provide 7 full segments with topics ranging from how to get started and how to access capital to the day-to-day running of your business and questions about accounting and bookkeeping. We feature business news and trends and always share a success story from one of our contributors. Join us next time for more insights into the world of small business. Be sure to sign up for our Business Equity and Opportunities newsletter to get even more valuable, up-to-date information. And if you have any questions or you'd like to be part of our show, please email us. The address is beo@wishtv.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Scott Sander. Thanks for listening.
Watch the Business Equity and Opportunities show on Wish TV and access all of our content and share it on demand anytime at BEOshow.com. You can find more podcasts from Wish TV on the All Indiana Podcast Network at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.